Beer has a lot of different meanings to a lot of different people. It's a fermented beverage that's been around for thousands of years. It's typically derived from malted barley. There's different types of yeast that are involved, different hops, different raw materials that come from different parts of the world. We could say that we're gradually perfecting it, but beer is still quite a bit of an art. We've refined the process, but still it's based on the same tradition that it was been brewed for centuries. Okay, when we think of beer, there's really two main categories. There's ales and lagers. Of course, Alexander Keith is an ale. Its historical roots would be Scotland, and this would contrast with a lager, where lager traditionally its historical roots would be in Germany, Austria, Czechoslovakia, central parts of Europe. Malt is, of course, derived from malted barley, and that could come from as far away as anywhere in Canada, or it could come from overseas as well. And there's an infinite variety of different malts. There's typically a main malt that would be involved in the brewing of the beer. That would be sort of the backbone of the beer itself. And then we could potentially add different specialty malts to create a slightly different character. Hops are traditionally added at the beginning of the boil in the brewhouse step of the process, and those hops would create a certain bitterness. And it's very important that you add the same amount of hops each time, so that the type of bitter character that comes through is unique to that particular variety, and that creates that bitterness character, that tannin effect that people taste when they're drinking the beer. The yeast will produce a significant component of the flavor of the beer. So if it's an ale yeast per se, it'll produce a slightly more aroma character. If it's a lager, again, it'll be a slightly different character would come through on the beer. When you're looking for a brewery to brew your product, part of the process is checking to make sure that their methodology that they would use to analyze their water and check their water is that they could be able to guarantee that the water that's used in their process would be completely identical to the water that's used here in Halifax. A dark ale is another brand of beer that typically would use a higher proportion of the heavier, darker roasted malts that would be available to the brewer. We would use the exact same yeast that we would use in Alexander Keith for our dark ale, but there'd be a higher proportion of the dark roasted malts.